Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Devo with Bo Willette. That's my name. You could always check out the archives of the devotions at my YouTube channel at Bo Willette. There it is, right there. You can go there, check it out, and get the different books of the Bible that I've gone through already in a devotion style format, kind of a simple format too. If you've never gone through the Bible, this might be a good thing for you. A lot of times we have a lot of questions on the Bible, especially for guys like me that grow up super SoCal secular progressive, very atheistic, and you don't know much about the Bible at all. And so you kind of tend to develop presuppositions on the Bible, and any arguments that I had against the Bible were usually built off of a false set of presuppositions that I heard, things that I heard from people. Nothing I really read, and if I did read anything from the Bible, it was basically from a source that was trying to, in a sense, critique the Bible. So it's usually from an antagonistic view of the scriptures. And you might know what that's like. You might have grew up in a secular home too, where you like to bag on the Bible a lot, and that was kind of a common thing. And certainly I wasn't around a lot of Christians, that's for sure, and the church and all that. So, but upon reading the Bible, and just going through the Bible, I was kind of floored by how it answers questions that I had, just the common questions that I thought, and it really made sense in my world. And in the world that we live in, the world that I go outside of the house and I look around and I see all the things I do see, I saw that also in the Bible. So what I thought maybe was a fairy tale isn't so much that at all. So we're in 2 Kings chapter 24 today. Certainly no fairy tale, certainly a historical reality of the nation of Israel, the southern part of Israel called Judah, that finally is going to face the consequences of its absolute turning away from Yahweh worship. Now, they've been doing this forever. They have been saying to God, forget you, I'm out. They've been going different directions. They've been like San Francisco. They've been like New York. They've been like SoCal. They've been living that way for a long time, hundreds and hundreds of years now. And they've been given these warnings from these people, whether they're male or female, but they're called prophets or prophetesses. And these warnings are that, hey, if you remember Moses back in the day, there was this agreement between Yahweh and us. And it had to do also with judgments that were going to happen to us if we didn't obey. And so these people of God were throughout the land warning the government. And the government, though, just became this giant, centralized power structure that literally just took over and was doing things on its own. Sound familiar, don't it? Power structures that just go rogue, man. They do what they want to do because they're powerful, right? And it's not really for gain of people. It's not people really goodwill. It's power, money, right? It's what drives the machine. And so we see exactly what goes on in our world today here in the book of Kings. Very similar. Israel, instead of going to Yahweh when it came to its enemies, and it instead buddied up financially, militarily with neighboring empires or countries. And this is what we see today in our world too, where countries get together militarily and they make a pact, and that is going to be against another group of people, right? That kind of form another crew. If you will, it's no different from when you're growing up and you're in graffiti crews, or you're in gangs, or you're hanging out with your hoodlum buddies, man. It's like you got a crew, and then there's another crew down the road, right? And it ain't going to go well. You might negotiate a titch, but pretty much it's on, right? Just by association. And that's how it is in the big government. That's why Jane's Addiction's Perry Farrell said, the biggest gang I know is called the government, in one of his songs. And I remember going to see them quite a bit when I was younger. But yeah, so what we see in the Bible is really what goes on. So we got a short chapter today in chapter 24, and we'll read through it and see what we glean from it. But hopefully you get a good understanding of what's going on. This isn't some fairy tale writing. This is literally some history here. So, you might have to correct your professor at school, and let them know that, hey, this is a history too of the people of Israel. And so during Jehoiakim's reign, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon invaded the land of Judah. See, there you go. Judah's a real place. Babylon, real people. Real place too. Real empire. Nebuchadnezzar, real king. Jehoiakim surrendered and paid tribute for 3 years, but then rebelled. Now, in our devotion time, we could always just be thankful that the Bible, it has history and is written in a lot of history style. A very big part of the Bible is a historical narrative. And man, just be thankful for that. I mean, who wants to believe in something that's some fairy tale, right? Some kind of Dr. Seuss novel or some weird thing, that's kind of odd. No, it's like, that would be a bummer. I'm glad that this is a historical book, and I'm blessed this morning that I could think that way. Like, wow, man, that I could think like, hey, you know what? I'm putting my trust in something that happened, not some fairy tale. So Jehoiakim surrendered and paid him tribute for 3 years, but then rebelled. Jehoiakim, right? He was the puppet king from Babylon, but then, he rebelled, right? He tried to fight back. Then the Lord sent bands of Babylonian, Aramean, Moabite, and Ammonite raiders against Judah to destroy it, just as the Lord had promised through his prophets. See, this is not some on a whim thing. God just doesn't do things on a whim. He is slow to anger. We read that back in Exodus, I think chapter 34. Slow to anger and rich in love. How patient is he? Well, how patient is he with you? Pretty patient. God, he's so patient with me. What are things that you're rebelling in your mind and in your heart? Areas that you look at and you go, yeah, there's some rebellion in me. Well, God's being patient with us, and he's patient with you. And this is the nature and the character of God, is that God is love. And part of love is being patient. And God is patient. And here we see that with the people of Israel. They haven't been observing the law of Moses since the time of Moses. Isn't that wild? For hundreds of years, it's been just a slow burn for Israel. These disasters happened to Judah because of the Lord's command. He had decided to banish Judah from his presence because of the many sins of Manasseh, who had filled Jerusalem with innocent blood. The Lord would not forgive this. So we read about Manasseh not too long ago, but man, dude, what a gnarly king that guy was. He did everything to provoke God to anger. Everything he could, man. He said, you know what, I'm going to do anything I can to really go against Moses's, the law of Moses and against Yahweh. And, it's amazing how there's always a consequence to things, isn't there? There's always no matter, you might ride okay for a time, but then there's always where the ball drops, always. And you can't get around it. There's going to come a time where your body's going to grow old. You're going to grow old. Your body's going to fall apart. My body's going to fall apart. You're going to get sick. I'm going to get sick. We are going to die, and the ball will drop. There is the jump to come, and, rebellion always seems good in the health. It always seems good when we're healthy. But boy, man, when we're sick, when we're shot, when we got that disease, when we see the repercussions of our narcissism and our vanity and our wealth, all of a sudden, man, we see it, and it's ugly. And, today, our world, even when I was younger, I knew that our world was just so wrong. Something so wrong with it, right? And can you see it? Can you see all of us in our houses, all of us in this world, the way we live, how we live, the ways that things work, the way money is used, everything, every little part of it is all off. It's just something's tweaked about all of it. We just can't seem to get it together, right? We are far worse off than we ever thought. Right? A lot of humility is needed in our lives. And our pride just won't let us get there. And this is kind of how it is with Israel. They are just stubborn, stiff-necked, man. And again, these are the heroes of the Bible. They're stiff-necked, right? And the rest of the events of Jehoiakim's reign and all of the deeds that are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Judah, that's where they're written, in the Chronicles, the book of the Chronicles. Then Jehoiakim died, and his son Jehoiachin began the next king. The king of Egypt did not venture out of his country after that, for the king of Babylon captured the entire formerly claimed of Egypt, from the brook of Egypt to the Euphrates River. Basically, it's giving us a little bit of a history of how big Babylon has now become. Babylon, this dominating empire with King Nebuchadnezzar, has taken over not only the areas of Israel, that little connecting area from the north to the south of the Middle East, but now has really taken all the area that Egypt has once captured in the region. So Babylon has become really the 900-foot-pound, gorilla in the Middle Eastern region, dominating. And boy, when you have an enemy that dominates, gosh, what's the enemy that dominates you? What's the enemy that dominates me? You might list them off. Oh, is it greed? Does greed dominate you? Right? Does pride dominate you? Oh, crushing, right? How about lustful inclinations? Envy, right? That lustful, envious heart. Oh, gosh, that might be there too, right? You start going down the list of, these vices, man, these sins that we have, and man, you'll see just how crazy and powerless we are over these enemies. And that's why the Christian always is going to Jesus. Because just as Jesus went through his crucifixion, so we too need to go through our crucifixion. A very humbling experience, to say the least, right? And instead of all this pride and selfishness and self-centeredness, everything's about me, everything's about everything's about what I think, these kind of things, everything's about what I can get, even if it's at the expense of so many other people. Maybe I need to walk humbly, and that can be very difficult for us. But this is the Jesus way, right? Humble thyself in the sight of the Lord, and he will lift you up. So instead of maybe living a life to where you're lifted up by humans, we live a life that we're lifted up by God. And that's tough. God in whom we cannot see, right? So Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he was king. And he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months. That's it. His mother was Nehushta, the daughter of Elnathan from Jerusalem. Jehoiachin did what was evil in the Lord's sight, just as his father had done. So like father, like son in this kind of way, right? We saw that this isn't always the pattern, though. It's not always like father, like son. Sometimes things are a lot different between father and son. But here, it's kind of that way, right? During Jehoiachin's reign, the officers of King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon came against Jerusalem and besieged it. Nebuchadnezzar himself arrived at the city during the siege. The king Jehoiachin, along with the queen mother, his advisors, his commanders, and his officials, surrendered to the Babylonians. In the 8th year of Nebuchadnezzar's reign, he took Jehoiachin as prisoner. As the Lord had said beforehand, Nebuchadnezzar carried away all the treasures from the Lord's temple and the royal palace. He stripped away all the gold objects that King Solomon of Israel had placed in the temple. So the temple gets basically raided by Babylon. And these are, again, this is the consequences of our yuck. Ugh, right? The wages of sin is death. Ugh, man, and this is it. We're all going to be stripped away of everything at some point. Yeah, you will. You might not think you are going to, but you will. It's just a matter of time. And then you too, just like everybody else, will be in a bed and you can't do nothing. And everything won't matter anymore. Right? All the cool gadgets we got, all the cool toys we have, all the blah, blah, blahs, it ain't going to matter because all you got now is your breath. And man, when that's all you got is your breath, I tell you what, you want something more powerful than your breath. You want something more powerful than your body to trust in. And so we will be stripped away of everything. That's no doubt about that. So we have to be ready and be prepared. Who are you trusting? What are you trusting? That's the big question. And so everything gets stripped away from this temple. And King Nebuchadnezzar took all Jerusalem captive. You know, their boast was in that temple. Oh, that temple's so good, right? Oh, that temple's so big. Oh, that temple, Solomon was there. You know, that's the one King David wanted to build. But Solomon did it. And man, look at how rich it is. And look how beautiful it is. Yeah, well, look how beautiful your body is. Look how great it is. You feel good. You feel young. You feel in shape. You feel this. You feel that. You can go run a mile. You can go run 10 miles. You can go do this. You know, you're amazing. You know, yeah, just for a time, just for a season. That's it. It's going to go. It's going to go quick too. And then it's done. Right? Yeah, and I know you might be like, well, Bo, that's so sad. No, it's not sad. It's the truth. It's just the facts of life. It's how it works. You know, birds outside, they fly around in the spring because they're brand new, right? They're born. But then, you know, over a few years, they die, right? That's how it happens with everything. That's right. We need a power, right? Something more powerful. This is where the resurrection of Jesus is so powerful, right? Because he conquers death. A perfect life conquers death. A non-sinful life can conquer death. And this is what we need, is resurrection. We don't have it, obviously. We are stuck in this cycle of death continually. We need to get out. How do we get out? This is what Jesus offers. Come to me, all who are heavy laden, burdened by this, and I will give you rest. Right? This is what Jesus promises us, right? He promises us his life. Take my life, right? His peace he gives us. This is what he promises us. This is why Christians love Jesus so much, because he's the greater. And so, you know, they get taken captive, right? King Nebuchadnezzar took all of Jerusalem captive, including the commanders of the best of the soldiers, craftsmen, artisans, 10,000 in all. Only the poorest people were left in the land. So King Nebuchadnezzar takes, you know, all the scholars, the good people, you know, the good people in the sense of they're good at something, you know, kind of thing. Right? The best of the soldiers, the best of the craftsmen. That's what I mean. Right? And he leaves all the ones who aren't, if you will, like sounds like aren't educated behind. Right? And left in the land. So Nebuchadnezzar's obviously thinking about his governorship, you know, his rulership. And how can he put people to work in Babylon? And so, you know, Nebuchadnezzar, King Jehoiachin, is led away as a captive of Babylon. His wives, his officials, all of Jerusalem's elite. He and also exiled 7,000 of the best troops and 1,000 craftsmen and artisans, all of whom were strong and fit for war. Then the king of Babylon installed Mattaniah, Jehoiachin's uncle, as the next king and charged Mattaniah name to Zedekiah. So Mattaniah, we're off now. He's Zedekiah. Zedekiah was 20 years old when he began to reign as king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 11 years. His mother was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah from Libnah. And I love that. Always the mothers involved, right? Always got the mothers, man. The historical narratives here always got mom, right? Talked about, hey, this is who the mom was. This is who the mom was. Moms are important. Dad's important, right? But Zedekiah did what was evil in the Lord's sight, just as Jehoiakim had done. These things happened because of the Lord's anger against the people of Jerusalem and Judah until he finally banished them from his presence and sent them into exile. So you get the idea, the big picture in the narrative of the kings is that God's eye is always continually at Jerusalem, and it's there, and this area, the land of Israel, is the Lord's, and it's not Israel's, it's the Lord's, it's Yahweh's. And if you ain't obeying the covenant, then you will be kicked out. You will be moved out. God says it's going to be like washing a plate clean, turning the dish upside down. I'm going to wipe you out of the land, right? Take you out of the land, just as God took the other nations out of the land. Talk about no favoritism, right? Oh, God, he favors those Israeli people. You know, that he favors them. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, he treats them the same way, you know, as he did the nations that were in the land before them. So there's no favoritism with God. You know, his grace is his grace. You know, if God chooses to be nice with someone, that's totally upon his grace alone. His favor is unmerited. We don't deserve it, right? None of us deserve his favor. We all deserve judgment. That's why we look to God for mercy and grace. And those are seen in the person of Jesus Christ. So what can get us out of the if you will, the theme of this chapter, which is being stripped away of everything and taken captive? Well, he who sins is a slave of sin. And the only way we can get our sin taken away from us is through a perfect sacrifice. And that one was Jesus of Nazareth. And so I don't know what you're putting your hope in to cleanse you of your sin. But it better be better than Jesus, because Jesus says he's the only way. The only way. There is no other way. And, you know, how can you find a better way when there is no better way? There's only one way, right? Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except by me, except through me, right? It's through his offering. He is the sin offering for us. He is those offerings that were supposed to be done in Moses' time. He is the picture of those. He is the fulfillment of those offerings. He is the one who can cleanse us, right? Bring us near. Bring us to the peace offering. Bring us to the place of peace with Yahweh, with the Father, the creator of all. So, man, I mean, it's a short chapter, but rooted in a lot of history of the captivity of the southern tribes of Israel, what's known as the land of Judah, by King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. And we can see that there's stages of captivity. There's the time when one group of people are taken, another group of people, and another group of people. I think there was 3 in all that happened with Babylon. And so, you know, we get some great history. And we really see that, hey, man, the Bible does just tell it like it is, you know? And so hopefully we can look to Yahweh and not to our own yuck, our narcissism, or the way we are, and we can walk humbly before our God. So good theme, walking humbly. Ooh, that's for sure. Just walking in a humble way. Maybe I need the Lord today. Maybe I'm not right. Maybe I got it wrong. And that's okay. You know, God's got an answer for us. He's got help. So you guys have a good one, okay? You guys take care. And enjoy your Monday, okay? Bye-bye.